Bitcoin continues to surprise the masses. We are hitting support levels that we hit every single time in bull markets. Now, in this video, we're going to go and have a look at how this is happening and basically what we think is coming next based on what has happened in the past. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. This is your home of macro cycle analysis, where we study the past to forecast the future. We cover Bitcoin, cryptos, stock markets, commodities, and the real estate and economic cycle, bringing you the holistic picture as a full-time investor. All right, guys, links in the top of the video description are how you can get on board with our free trading and crypto reports. And for some of you guys who are members already and are crushing your trades, your crypto trades, congratulations. There are a lot of profits being had over the last couple of weeks, and we're about to kick off the World Series of Trading with Bybit. So link in the top of the video description. You can join us to win your share of $8 million. That's the major prize pool here, but you must be part of a squad. And our squad, the top 1%, is that link in the top of the video description. Click that, join us, and hopefully you can also get on board with some more profits, just like many of our members are doing here. 60%, 40%, 50%, 200%. There are a lot of profits being had. So hopefully you guys can also join the squad with the World Series of Trading. All right, let's have a look at what's going on with BTC right now. The same thing over and over again. The moves happen quite quickly, and then it leaves a lot of us just waiting around, twiddling our thumbs. What has happened over the last nearly 3 weeks? We've gone from the peak at 31,800 to yesterday's low at 28,477. So about a 10.6% drop. Now the move happened from that previous low at 24,800, and it happened just in a few days. Then that leaves a lot of people wondering and hoping for further pumps. But of course, this doesn't always happen. But what does happen in these bull markets is support comes into the market when most least expect it. It has happened time and time again. We had a move of a few days here from that low, and the majority of the gains were had, you could argue, in 6 days, maybe up to this top here in 8 days. Then for 6 weeks, the market goes nowhere. And that's where you start to get a lot of the comments coming through. You said it would go to 40 or 50 or new all-time highs. The point here is to not leave the market, because this happens over and over and over again. You can see these pump ups that last a matter of a week, and then the markets last 2 months of basically going nowhere. But before you can blink, basically the gains of one day and the market going nowhere for a week are wiped out within 24 hours. You can see we went nearly to the 50% level and then bounced right back and nearly got to that top, which was at $30,100. So what is going on? What happens each time that we've seen this over and over and over again, which, because of the slow grinding move to the downside after the pumps, it just leaves a lot of people forgetting to watch what happens next and forgetting to look at those key support levels. Now, the first key support level, the one that we've been watching for quite some time since these tops came in nearly 3 weeks ago, was $28,300. That is the 50% level from the bottom, so that June low, to the July peak. Basically, your 1 month pivot points there. So that level was nearly hit by $140. In terms of a percentage to that level, is 0.6%. So quite close. Now, does that mean we can't come back and test it? Of course not. We've seen that before, where we had that move to the downside, which lasted 2 months. So that top was in April, and then the bottom was in June. So basically dead on 2 months there. The market came back and nearly hit that 50%. We have a look from the top to the March low. Then you can see that the price here was almost to the dollar before it bounced up and then started to slide again over the coming week. It found the low on that 50% and bounced away from it, similar to what we're seeing happen right now on a slightly shorter time frame. Now, does this happen all the time? Almost. I'll show you just in these previous times that we had here in this bull market, and they are pretty key levels if you wanted to be buying BTC at those levels, almost guarantees that are pretty solid support areas in the market. If you remember back to March, we had the banking collapse, the time when the majority, over 90%, thought that the markets were going to collapse further. We had a few banks go down. They were called the biggest banking collapses, or near enough, in all time. But when you look at the numbers, those banks didn't hold anywhere near as much deposits as the top 10 or 15 banks, but it was a big bank that did collapse. This is how the media gets us. They twist and turn the headlines to make it sound worse than what it actually is. There is your banking collapse, almost dead on 50%. It was a time that we were watching. You guys remember here on the channel. If you don't remember, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and you can go and check out those videos and tweets as well, where I talked about that specifically. And I bought at 19,900, as I mentioned to our members as well. So you can check that out. Now, that time was almost dead on 50%, and the market bounced from that point. So we've had that happen once out of the bottom. You just saw it then as well when we move the 50% level here. This is connecting significant lows and significant highs, and you just watch to see where the support comes into the market. We've had a significant support here at 50%. It bounced again, and recently, just in the last 24 to 36 hours, we had another 50% bounce. Now, maybe we fade off again and touch it like we have done in both occasions where it just went slightly under. So that's something to keep a watch out for. Now, the only time that's not going to happen is if we start to break higher, basically taking out the shorter term 50% level, which is now from that current low to the top at $30,170. So if we can start to consolidate above this level, then this is pretty much the low is in, and we start to consolidate to come back up and test the $32,000 level. So that's happened this entire bull market here. Provided we stay above the 50%, that is strength. That is very strong for the market. You can see each time that it stayed above the 50%, we bounced. Above the 50%, we bounced. Now you can take this back through the entire bull markets of the past, and I'm sure if you've been following the channel, you know that's exactly what I like to do, so that we can be sure of those signals. So looking at the 50% level now on a more macro time frame, you can see that we get the test and the bounce, the consolidation, and further bounce. Note that this period is about 6 months. Okay, we're not talking about days here or hours. We're not talking about the small short-term time frame, which you can trade and make some good profits on. We're talking about the longer term, the macro stuff here. So looking at the next 50% level, you can see from the significant low, the pump up, bam, test on the 50%. We want to use the next significant low here, and the same sort of deal happened past it and bounce back above. Now, some might think that these 50% are subjective, but once you get to learn how to use the 50%, there is a lot of objectivity around how you pick these levels. In particular, something simple, longer term time frames. So we can put this onto a weekly, which we have, and then maybe looking at it a 2-week swing. So we're not going to get too into detail with this. This is part of the TIA crypto education. You can use the TIA Gann swing indicator to figure out where those key pivot points are in the market so that you can stay ahead of the masses. The masses don't understand where key pivot points are in the market. They think everything, every support and resistance is equally important, but they are not. The most important are where these swings come in on the macro picture, something like a weekly, or even more importantly, the monthly swings. So you can see here, looking at the low to the top, bam, 50% test, another 50% test, market bounces away. So provided the market, in this case, the market being Bitcoin, remains above the 50%, you can see we have a strong market. Now, that happened all the way up to the top. Note what happened once we got a breakdown of the 50% level. Market goes weak. When that 50% breaks down, the show is almost over. So we can look at the significant lows here, maybe even take it from the cycle bottom to the top. And you can see as we came to test the 50%, the market here bounced a little and then collapsed under it. Came up, tested again, collapsed. Tested the underside, collapsed. 50% underneath, weak. 50% we hold above, strong. And what we're doing now is the strong part for Crypto, if you've been following, we've looked at these 50% levels on the way back up as well for resistance levels. It's happened on many of these occasions throughout the Bitcoin bear markets that have then flipped into bulls. So you can see from the previous cycle, the market ran straight up into some 50%, got rejected, and it didn't pass the previous bottom, which is a good strong sign, and then tested the 50% again. As you can see, as it started to go back through the 50%, it was on some very, very strong volume. So nice big moves, strong volume, and very strong moves to the upside. So that's what we're waiting on probably sometime in 2024. So that current level is 32,000 or 31,800. Call it 32,000 for a round number. We have a lot of resistance there. That's the major 50% until we look at the all-time high 50%, which takes us to 42,200. So two key levels that we're watching, 32,000. Then if we get that break above 32, we've got a little level in here as well, 34.5, but watching more importantly to the next major 50%, and that's going to be our 42K level. So Bitcoin basically is doing what it has done in each of the previous moves to the downside. It has come back and it has tested the 50%, strong bounce out, move to the upside. Next 50% level, we'll look at the March low to the April top, comes back, tests again, nice strong bounce out to the upside. The next one is where we currently sit. We may have just tested it. I would like to see it tested a little stronger. If not, then of course I want to see it get above 32,000 quite quickly so that we can start to consolidate above these particular levels. So nonetheless, everything is looking rosy while we remain above the 50% levels. So keep that in mind, looking at your $28,300 level for Bitcoin. Now looking at the macro picture again, seeing where we sit in our 3-year bull market journey. We're still in the second phase here. The first phase, as we've seen with each of the previous cycles, pretty much market figuring out that we are starting to turn over from the bear to the bull. The second and the third phases, in some cases, they have some nice strong moves. You can see in 2015 and in 2019, we had a strong move to the downside as well. And then it gets churny. Then it gets churny and a nice breakout. By the time we get to the fourth stage, so each of these are broken down into 6-month blocks, and I've got 6 by 6 is 36, so that's 3 years from the cycle low to the cycle top. By the time we get to the fourth one, that's where we start to test the all-time high. Happened last time in 2020, it happened the time before that in 2016, just going back to test that all-time high. Does it have to happen again exactly the same? Of course not, but this is just a guide to help us stay in tune with the market trend, as opposed to still we've got quite a lot of the masses telling you that this market has to collapse. They're looking for 10,000, they're looking for 15,000, they're looking for 9,000. That is not going to happen because of the structure that we are currently in. If that were to happen, this market would be over. You won't see new all-time highs for a very long time. There is no way that you're going to see prices underneath 15 to 20,000 and then a quick move back above, consolidate to go to new all-time highs. This is just not how the structure works. So right now, we're probably about getting close to halfway through the second phase here, and we're working our way towards the third. And by that stage, we hit the halving, just like we did in the previous and the previous. Fourth time, or that fourth phase, sorry, that's the time that we look to test these all-time high levels. If we look at that in terms of time, the fourth should be starting sometime in about, well, just under 12 months' time. We're looking at about April, May of 2024, all the way to the end here at about October-ish of 2024. Now, my thesis is that you are not going to see Bitcoin collapse while the stock markets are going up. You don't get a bull market in the stock market and a severe bear market for Bitcoin. So, as we have been covering, the stock markets are also going up. They're hitting new, fresh, high prices all the time. Yes, they're going to have some pullbacks. We've talked about pullbacks already here on the channel, where we could expect single-digit pullbacks for the stock markets, whereas many are trying and hoping for 10, 20% pullbacks. And that just doesn't happen at the beginning of these bull markets, especially after such a severe drawdown of over 20%. Look from the top to the cycle low, 27%. You're not going to see another 20% pullback from this point. Single digits, every day of the week you could get a single digit pullback, but we're not going to see these significant pullbacks. So right now, the stock markets are getting very close to the all-time highs. They are approximately 5 or 6% off their all-time highs. We've just seen over the last 24 hours a slight pullback again of 0.5%. But from that point, this could just be a consolidation before we test those new high prices. And looking at the data, as I pointed out in the channel, we're probably going to see a new all-time high for the S&P in 2023. It has hit a new all-time high every year since 2013 as it hit that new fresh all-time high after the GFC. It's hit a new all-time high price every single year. There's your previous GFC price. Here is 2013 breaking into a new all-time high, 2014 new all-time highs again, 2015, 2016, 17, 18, you get the deal. Every year, even the pandemic saw new all-time high prices, and we just got a slight all-time high at the beginning of 2022. Market was down, and now we've bounced back from that point. So this is all leading to further bull market prices, so basically moving towards new all-time highs. I don't think it's going to happen tomorrow or next week or next month, but it looks like it could happen in 2023 where we do test 4,800, and that's going to be a good thing for the Bitcoin bull market as well. Although things are pushing sideways, we just have to break through $32,000. And the rest of the markets are obviously taking the spotlight. We're seeing a lot of gains in the S&P. We're seeing gains in NASDAQ, highest weekly closes in 2023. We've seen 82-week highest weekly closes. Monthly closes of July with some of the highest in history, second highest in for the S&P and the third highest for the NASDAQ. NASDAQ's up 51% from the low. International markets, some of the other biggest markets in the world. Germany was in a recession, but its stock markets hit a new all-time high in the last week. The top 50 stocks in Europe, they also hit a new 16-year high. Things are progressing. It doesn't happen in a day, but we do have a lot of positive data that shows the markets are in very, very strong bull markets despite every single dramatic, fearful, collapse type of news piece from the media, from pro traders, pro investors, hedge fund managers, whoever they are, analysts, strategists. The majority of them have been absolutely wrong for nearly 12 months. We've been looking at these lows. I've posted this all on Twitter. You've got all the receipts there if you want to go back and have a look. Looking at June as a very significant low. We looked at October and then a very significant low in March. We were calling it all through here. You guys remember that if you've been around. Let me know in the comment section down below. And since that time, boom, markets have pumped. Don't go anywhere for BTC. I think something similar is setting up because the ranges in the market are tightening. And when we get that tightening in the ranges, eventually we see the volatility explode in the other direction. Now's not the time to take our eyes off the market. It never is, especially if you want to become a full-time trader investor like our members over here, crushing their trades, 100%, 159%. The link in the top of the video description is to join our top 1% traders in the World Series of Trading through Bybit, $8 million prize pool. Check it out, link right there. Otherwise, I'll see you guys back here at the next videos. Like, subscribe. Let's keep going on with this mega bull market in the making here for Bitcoin. Very excited. I want to see what happens once 32K breaks. Cheers, everyone. See you at the next one. Till then, peace out.